Well, this has been one very interesting week. Whoopi Goldberg started it off by making a statement that, quite frankly, millions of people share. That the Holocaust was not about racism, but was instead about man's inhumanity to man. And that it's not racist because it was white people killing other white people. Now, the unfortunate fallout, or perhaps it's fortunate fallout, is that many institutions have now taken to addressing topics around Whoopi Goldberg's comment, such as the ADL, in which they have revised their definition of racism. And the ADL says the racism occurs when individuals or institutions show more favorable evaluation or treatment of an individual or group based on race or ethnicity. Now, this is a very poor definition because race or ethnicity might as well just say ethnicity. Because race is an extrapolation of ethnicity. You see, even if a person says they're South African, if they're a white guy, they're not really African. Their ethnicity has nothing to do with any ethnicity within Africa. They're British. They're just in a colonial territory. Or a former, quote-unquote, colonial territory. Now, that's why I say it might as well just be based on ethnicity. Because there's no getting out of it. But if we are going to base it on ethnicity, then the obvious implication here is that Jews indeed are not a religion, but instead are an ethnicity. Now, someone in history said this, and people did not like it. This definition also means that if you make statements such as what Ben Shapiro, I'm quoting Ben Shapiro here, Jews control all the private and public institutions in America, you're not really making a racist statement. Because it's a statement. It's not about treatment. You're not treating anyone unfavorably here. It's just a statement. Anyway, on to the more important topic. If racism is unfavorable treatment due to race or ethnicity, then public policy has to be completely rewritten. Because instead it must be along more categories than white, black, Hispanic, and Latino, Asian, Pacific Islander, or other. That is to say that for whites, for instance, Irish, German, French, Italian, Scottish, Jewish, Spanish must all be analyzed for economic disparity as separate categories. Or else, any policy the government is engaging in that affects this group is by definition a racist policy. Not to mention that South Africans, I'm talking about blacks here, Nigerians, Somalians, North American Africans, Latin American Africans, Caribbean Africans, or South American Africans must all be treated separately as groups. It's really hilarious because now you're getting to the unwieldy parts. Our government's either going to engage in completely racist policy or we're going to have to start putting some strictures around these definitions. That means when it comes time for a census checkbox, you're going to have to add a Jewish category on there. And I can bet you that's not going to happen. But more importantly, and this is the real topic and the real kicker of this whole debacle, is that it brings into question something very important. And that is, if racism is about ethnicity, then let me ask you a question. Or it's about, the treatment, a favorability of ethnicity, then let me ask you a question. Is it wrong to want a nation founded upon one's ethnicity? And please just go with me here. Is it wrong to say support German nationalism in the interest of ethnic self-preservation? Again, I just want you to go with me. I am not German. I'm not Aryan. I just have a question for today. Because if, there's two parts to this. If it's not wrong to want a nation founded on your ethnicity, to seek a nation, if it's not racist, because we're obviously accepting that racism is wrong here. But if it's not racist to want a nation founded on your own ethnicity, then hatred of Hitler and Germany does not have to have anything to do with the fact that they were supremacists, or the idea that they were supremacists. White supremacists is that, which they weren't. They were German nationalists. But it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with racism, supremacism, or white supremacism. Instead, the hatred of Hitler must be reduced to the alleged means by which the Germans went about seeking a German state. That is to say, really the debate is not about German nationalism. It's about the violence that is alleged to have happened in Germany. Which means we're going to have to go investigate this, about what actually happened. Now, please go with me here. If, however, ethnic nationalism is wrong, so remember the other one was that it wasn't wrong, but if ethnic nationalism is wrong, then here's a question for every conservative, of which I count myself one. How can you avoid being on the wrong side of the issue by standing for Israel when they wall off Palestinians into the more barren lands of Israel and they take their homes to give them to Jewish settlements? How can we understand the conquering of Palestine after World War II, if not in a racist context? How is it not racist if one is granted membership in a nation if their mother is Jewish? Just, it's part of the being born. You're now a member, or you're now a citizen of Israel if your mom is Jewish. By ethnicity, by the way, not by religion. I am certainly not granted that same privilege, and neither are most of the entire world. So how is that not racism? Lastly, if the only problem you have now with the German people are the means by which they went about establishing their German nation, then I have a question. Do you know what Israel does to the Palestinians? Take care.